Many people perceive coffee to be a mixture of water with caffeine grains, but the truth is, this simple drink provides too many essential nutrients to our body. Just 1 cup gives you vitamin B2, vitamin B5, manganese, potassium, magnesium, and niacin. In the Western diet, it is the greatest source of antioxidants, since it has more than most fruits and vegetables. However, coffee and caffeine have been surrounded by controversy during the last decades, particularly the same caffeine and any drink that contains it, from the typical coffee to the well-known energy drinks. Recent reports have turned the tables, changing our perception of coffee as a toxic substance to a beneficial substance. Therefore, today we will be revealing the truths and debunking the myths about coffee and caffeine. What is caffeine? In a natural way, caffeine can be found in the leaves and seeds of some plants, although its consumption is usually in various forms. Although we all drink a cup, we tend to forget that caffeine is a defense mechanism for some plants. Caffeine is an alkaloid that is naturally found in about 60 species of plant, one of which is the coffee plant. How does caffeine defend the host plant? It acts as a natural pesticide for protection against pests. Running through the entire caffeine plant, caffeine is bitter tasting and toxic to many insects. The consumption of caffeine in herbivorous insects makes their nervous system stop producing essential enzymes, which in large amounts leads to paralysis and eventual death. How can caffeine gain access to the human body? Consumption of coffee, energy drinks, or both? The existence of beverages with caffeine of plant origin that contain more of this chemical substance cannot be overemphasized. From the highest to the lowest, we have coffee, tea, cocoa, mate, mocktails, and guarana. Caffeine can also be consumed as a food, for instance, chocolates. As you know, our focus will be solely on coffee. A brief history. How was coffee discovered? The word coffee comes from the Arabic word qawat al-bun, and it means wine from the grain. Coffee was discovered in the year 300 in Ethiopia, but it was not until the 15th century that its beans began to be roasted to prepare them as an infusion. According to historians, at first it was only customary to chew the leaves or boil them, but it was really until after 1714 that its consumption began to be cultivated and became popular throughout the world. Coffee's best-known species are Coffea arabica, Coffea liberica, and Coffea canephora. Among all of them, the Arabica variety stands out, accounting for about 90% of the world's coffee cultivation. Each coffee bean contains between 1 to 1.5% caffeine, and for every 100 milliliters of coffee, there is about 100 milligrams of caffeine. Coffee, good or bad? Did you know that coffee is the second most consumed drink in the world, after water? Every day in the world, between 1.6 and 2 billion cups are drunk. About 65% are taken in the morning. The moderate consumption of this drink is so necessary for many people, especially in the first hour, because it has a positive impact on some organs of our body, such as the liver and the brain. It was recently discovered that coffee plays a fundamental role against diseases such as diabetes, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and some types of cancer. The consumption of this drink, not in vain, should always be moderate and appropriate to our state of health, as there are times when coffee, more than an ally, can become an enemy for our body. According to dietitian Nigel Denby, we'll be showing you how coffee impacts each part of the human body. Weight loss. Coffee can help you lose those extra pounds. According to the dietitian, green coffee, composed of unroasted beans, contributes positively to weight loss and, in addition, will help you to burn a greater amount of fat. In a study presented in 2012 at the 243rd Annual Meeting of the American Chemical Society, Dr. Joe Vinson and his colleagues from the University of Scranton, Pennsylvania, described how a group of obese or overweight people consumed grains of green coffee every day for 6 months. Surprisingly, they managed to lose about 10% of their initial weight. Based on our results, taking several capsules of green coffee extract each day, as long as they are accompanied by a low-fat diet and regular exercise, appears to be an effective, safe, and inexpensive way to lose weight, explained Dr. Vinson. Heart. Drinking coffee will help to increase your heart rate. How does this take place? The intake of the coffee drink will tend to increase blood pressure by causing the contraction of the arteries. If you are a very healthy person, this effect will not only have negative consequences on your health, but it will also help you to obtain the energy that you need at certain times of the day. However, if you suffer from heart failure, you should stop drinking coffee completely, or at least check with your doctor for a recommendation on how many times a day you can consume it. Intestine. Caffeine stimulates and increases the contractions of our intestines. This impact can be harmful since nutrients have less time to pass into our body through the digestive tract. Inclusively, it can negatively interfere with the way we assimilate iron. It is usually advisable, says dietitian Nigel, to avoid drinking coffee without eating, as caffeine stimulates the production of gastric juices that, in the absence of food, can irritate the stomach lining, causing pain and abdominal distension. And pay attention to this established fact. Drinking coffee is not and never will be a solution to constipation, as it can cause hardening of the stool. That's right. Bones. Too much coffee can be bad for your bones. In case you didn't know, caffeine can affect the absorption of calcium in the intestine and also accelerate its expulsion, which can lead to significant bone loss. Julia Thompson, a nurse at the National Osteoporosis Society, advises drinking a maximum of 3 cups of coffee a day and, if possible, with milk. Teeth. How many times have you heard that smoking and drinking coffee will spoil the white of your teeth? For some experts, this statement is not entirely true, because you have to drink a lot of black coffee to stain your teeth, 5 to 6 cups a day. Mervyn Druin, a dentist at Tooth Whitening in London, told the newspaper. According to the expert, the way in which coffee stains teeth is very superficial, as it does not penetrate the enamel. Brain. What would many do without that necessary first thing in the morning coffee? It's a good thing that coffee helps you wake up. However, there is more to coffee than just its morning benefits. A recent study by the Institute for Scientific Information reveals that moderate coffee consumption can reduce the risk of Alzheimer's in 20% of cases. According to the report, those who drink 3 to 5 cups of this drink a day will be less likely to develop the disease, as caffeine could actually slow the deterioration of brain cells, especially those most associated with memory. In general, coffee can protect against dementia and neurodegeneration, since taking it can interrupt the pathway of adenosine, a chemical substance which at the brain level has been related to neuronal damage and destruction. Skin. Caffeine has been known to reduce the risk of skin cancer, thanks to its powerful antioxidants. Well, coffee is just the best, isn't it? How much caffeine is too much? Previously, the consumption of coffee was recommended not to exceed 400 milligrams of caffeine per day. Considering that this amount is adequate for the average adult, it will be equivalent to about 4 single coffees. However, new studies, such as the one recently published in the Annals of Internal Medicine in August 2017, not only ensures that this dose is adequate, but even suggests that between 3 and 4 cups of coffee a day can reduce the risk of early death. This is not to say that you should go from recommending avoid coffee to drink all of the coffee you want, but rather that the study wants to banish the myth that coffee is a villain, emphasizing that it can even be beneficial. On the other hand, what is known is that the lethal dose of caffeine in adults is 10 grams of caffeine a day. Although for this, we should not drink about 100 coffees at once. That, my friend, will lead to complications for the common man. Debunk this myth. Coffee dehydrates you. To clear the air on coffee, we will emphasize on a myth that continues to be repeated, even till date. Is it true that coffee causes dehydration? The erroneous belief is due to a study dating back to 1928, in which it was stated that coffee increases the amount of urine. It's implied that coffee is a diuretic substance and would make us urinate more, hence promoting dehydration. However, a study conducted by researchers at the University of Connecticut and published in 2005 in the International Journal of Sport Nutrition and Exercise Metabolism debunked the myth. After controlling the diet of 59 healthy men for 11 days, in which the daily 2 doses of caffeine consumed was taken into account, and also after analyzing up to 20 biomarkers of dehydration, the conclusion was that all markers were similar in the group that consumed caffeine and the group that did not. In other words, caffeine does not cause dehydration, even at high doses. Coffee, a protective factor against diabetes and obesity. The University of Georgia carried out a study which indicated that a chemical compound in coffee could help prevent some of the damage caused by diseases that accompany obesity. Chlorogenic acid, a polyphenolic compound found in coffee without roasting, in a percentage of about 6 to 7%. The Harvard University School of Public Health published a report in the journal Diabetologia in 2014. The report explained an experiment, which was conducted to determine the impact of coffee with respect to diabetes. The effects of coffee in about 95,974 women and 27,759 men were monitored for a total of 20 years. The results showed that the higher the coffee consumption, the lower the risk of long-term type 2 diabetes. Individuals who consumed a cup of coffee a day had an 11% lower risk, while those who consumed 2 cups of coffee a day had a 17% less risk. But beware, as in everything, you don't have to go overboard either. Coffee, a protective factor against colon cancer, skin cancer, and uterine cancer. Regarding the relationship between coffee and cancer, recently, several reports have linked its consumption with protection against these diseases, and not as a risk factor. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology in 2015 suggested, after studying 953 patients with advanced colon cancer, that these individuals who consumed 4 cups of coffee or more a day were about 42% less likely to have cancer return after treatment and about 33% less likely to die from it. Finally, a published report in the journal Cancer Epidemiology, Biomarkers and Prevention has linked coffee drinking with endometrial cancer or uterine cancer. Specifically, and after analyzing the data from 2,834 women with this type of cancer, their findings affirmed that drinking between 3 and 4 cups of coffee a day could reduce the probability of this cancer by about 19%. Incredible, right? With all that has been said, coffee and caffeine can either be a good or a bad omen. Striking a good balance is what truly counts. Hope you enjoyed today's ride. Do like, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Ring the bell-like notification button for more fascinating episodes. Bye!